The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for part one of our webinar series on mentoring millennials. My name is Katie Mouton, and I am the digital marketing specialist at Insala. I'm also joined by my colleague, Matthew Heilman.
Hello, everyone.
Before we tell you about ourselves, we want to cover a few housekeeping items. This order's in. Oh, nope. There we go. All right. So sorry about that. A few housekeeping items. So the webinar will be recorded and it's going to be sent out to everyone via email. We are going to try and get that done today. So if you have to drop off early, don't worry about it. We'll send that out to you. Also, please note that all participants have been muted, but we would love for you to participate. Please use the questions box or the chat box, and we'll be kind of answering questions throughout the webinar, and then we do have some time allotted at the end for your questions. Also, we love when everyone gets social, so please tweet along using Insala Webinar and let us know anything that you really liked or any points that we made that you think were valuable so that we can go back and take a look at those and put those into future webinars. All right. So let's see. We also want to tell you a little bit about Insala. All right, so at Insala, we are a leading global provider of mentoring software and consulting. We offer a variety of consultant-driven products ranging from mentoring, alumni, and offboarding solutions. So our mission is to connect organizations and people throughout their shared career journeys. So if you want to find out more information, you can go to our website. It's www.insala.com, or we would love for you to follow on LinkedIn. All right, so we want to take just a couple minutes to tell you about ourselves. As I said, my name is Katie Mouton, and I'm the digital marketing specialist at Insala. I've been working in digital marketing for about 9 years, and I've been with Insala for about a year. So while I've only been sharing information about mentoring for the last year, I know a lot about millennials because I am one. That's something that we really wanted to make different about this webinar is that Matthew and I are both millennials, so we want to share our point of view with you. We think that's something that's very different and we haven't seen a lot of. So we hope that that brings some more value to you. As a millennial, I've grown up surrounded by technological advancements, and I've always been fascinated with what's coming next. I think my job title says it all. I work in digital marketing. My job is all about technology and what's coming next and what's happening with marketing in the future. Matthew, do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm the implementation consultant of learning and development here at Insala. I see some familiar faces of clients. Welcome. And for those of you that I haven't met yet, it's a pleasure to see you today. My title's a little bit of a mouthful, but think of me as your friendly Insala trainer. I'm here if you've done training or any kind of consulting. I've probably popped up at some time. I haven't been in education and training for the past 10 years, and I've been with Insala now for almost exactly 3 years. I've supported implementing numerous mentoring portals throughout the years. Also, as Katie had already mentioned, I'm a proud millennial. I've been around computers and technology my whole life. When I was a kid, other kids were just learning what email was. I was already working on my Angel Fire webpage, and if you know what that is, kudos to you. And I was on multiple different things like Yahoo and ICM and AIM, just getting out there. My father was an engineer, so it was something that was always around me when I was growing up. But it's a pleasure to be on the webinar today, and I'm excited to get going.
All right. So as we've both said, we're really, really excited about this topic. We are millennials, and we think it's really important to help other people understand exactly how our minds work, especially in the company culture side of things, and to help you build your workforce. All right. So let's get started. All right, so here's the agenda for today. Number one, we're going to talk about what millennials are asking for. We're going to cover 3 different sections of what they're asking for to give you as much information as possible. We also want you to understand why making this change for millennials is important. Why do millennials need to have mentoring for your organization? Also, we want to touch on the do's and don'ts of mentoring millennials. We think that's something that's very valuable for organizations out there. And we're going to briefly touch on the return on investment that you can get when you implement a mentoring program for your millennials. All right, so this slide we found a little fun. As millennials, we kind of wanted to go ahead and address the elephant in the room because we know that sometimes we get a bad rap. So I found this quote and I really loved it, and I thought it was something that spoke to kind of the world around us as millennials and how we feel about things. And, you know, we're seen sometimes as lazy or entitled, but at the same time, we are willing to really work for you, and we want people to know that as well. So while sometimes people think we're ruining everything, I actually read something the other day that said we ruined fabric softener. So, you know, we want to show the positive sides of millennials and what we can bring to the table as an employee for your company. All right, so we're going to start off with a poll. We want to see who's out there, who joined this, and who really is wanting to learn more about this topic. So we want to know, what generation do you represent? So if you can pick your answer, we are going to just give y'all a little time. All right, looks like we're getting some votes in.
Baby boomers are winning.
Oh yeah, we've got a nice range.
Gen X, excellent.
All right, we've got almost 80% voted. Give y'all a couple more seconds.
No traditionalists out there? No one? Come on, come on. If you're there, speak up. Let us know.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll because we're at about 90% that have voted. So let's see what the results are. And the results are okay. We've got mostly baby boomers, so 38%, following right behind with our Gen X at 32%. And we've got the millennials rolling in at 29%. Honestly, I'm a little surprised by these results.
I'm too.
I expected mostly baby boomers and Gen X, so it's happy to see that our fellow millennials have joined us. We're excited to get your input on this. So yeah, thanks everyone again for coming, and let's get into the content that everyone's waiting for. All right. So, what are millennials asking for? I feel like this is a very loaded question, but it's something that we definitely wanted to address. So, millennials, it's been said that millennials ask for a lot, and we do. And the reason that we ask for so much is because we have high expectations for ourselves, and so we feel that we should have high expectations for our employers. We've seen the baby movers, we've seen the Gen Xers, we've seen how you work and the work ethic that you bring to the table, and we want to match that. We want to exceed that because at the end of the day, we want to replace you as the leaders in your companies. So understanding what we want and what we're asking for can kind of be a daunting task, but we are going to try to tackle that.
You know, and I definitely want to add to what Katie was mentioning, is that there's always the joke that we're the participation trophy generation, that all of us always, you always got something for trying. But I think what kind of ended up coming from that mentality is that we all know that you get rewarded in your own self from trying, because you still have to put yourself out there. It may not always be 100% successful, but we know that the only way to learn is to try and try again, and eventually it's going to work out for you. So definitely we are here and we are happy to exceed your expectations if you give us a chance.
I think that's a really great point, because that kind of leads into why we think we deserve what we're asking for. To some companies, we're asking for a lot, and to others, it's just a couple of changes. So yeah, I think, thanks, Matthew. That's a really great point to make. All right, so we want your input on this. So what do you think millennials want? If you could please go into the chat and kind of give us your answer.
And definitely millennials, this is a good chance to say exactly what you want. Please share it. We are happy to get more opinions on this topic. Excellent. I see things are already coming in. You know, Katie, I would probably definitely say that definitely something that I want, it's development. And I might be a little bit biased coming from a learning and development background, but it's always the opportunity to know that when I go somewhere, there's a chance to learn and grow. I don't want that kind of job where I'm just there sitting around and they're like, well, you've mastered this. Do it for the next 20 years. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. That's definitely what I want as millennial.
I agree. I think that that's something that we're going to find a lot of. All right, let's read some of these. So we've got feedback, we've got variety, life work balance, flexibility, opportunity to grow. They want to be guided to the answers, not told. I really like that one. I haven't actually heard that one. That's a good one.
That is a really good one.
Collaborative work environment. We are known as the collaborative generation. So it's a really nice one. Another one for work-life balance, another one for flexibility. Win a new role in want development even after 18 months in role. They want a promotion. Yep, that's something that I've heard too, is that we want to be promoted really fast.
Can I share my favorite one?
Yes. Money.
I mean, I think we all really do enjoy money.
money.
It's true too. It's the flexibility. It's not just the money, but all the things that we're discussing. They all kind of tie in together for sure.
All right, a couple more we're going to get through. Promotions based on merit versus seniority. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Balance, again, a variety of experiences and perspectives. Fulfillment. These answers are great, y'all. I'm just going to keep going because I love them so much. Quick promotions, opportunities to advance and advance quickly. They want to work for a company that has an impact on the community and world at large. Yes. Money, there it is. I'm going through the list. Matthew got to it for me. They want to work in a mentoring culture. We love that. Opportunities for growth, everything. My experience is that they want someone to give them what they want at all costs. These are awesome answers because I feel like we're going to address a lot of these. Thank you for your participation. That was so wonderful to see those. I'm going to agree with most of them. I know Matthew will too. And we're going to dive actually right into what we have found that millennials want. So let's.
And please keep the chat coming, even though we're continuing on. So one of the first big things we want to talk about is what do they want from their manager? Because we know, now we've discussed what is everyone wanting as a millennial and what millennials want, but specifically, what do they want from individuals and parts of the organization? So first up is from their manager. They definitely want that career navigation. They want to know that when I start here, what is my track? Where am I going? Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be the CEO in a week or two, but that I know that there's a path. And I think part of where some people have struggled before is they think, well, millennials, they just want to move right up the chain of command. And it's mostly because they don't know the navigation they're supposed to be taking. No one said you're going to be doing this to fall into this, to go into this. So of course, we're going to fill in the blanks ourselves and we're going to move up as quickly as we think we should be. So getting that feedback, I know that was mentioned quite a few times. Again, not being told, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, fix this, do this. It's the feedback, it's that conversation to get things going. Development opportunities, and again, L&D, I love the chance to learn, but we want to know that when we're going somewhere, that this role, it's not just a stagnant role. I'm going to master it in 2 weeks after training and that's it. Because there's always room to grow, to learn best practices, to teach others. How can I support you? How can I support other companies, departments? I don't want to just be a silo in myself. I want to learn more. And then obviously that flexibility from their manager and understanding that when it comes to a job, it's not just flexibility with time, but we want the manager to understand that we need room to grow and we want the opportunity to have a manager that's not just, this is the way it is. We want to have more opportunity than just a rigid situation.
Hey,
next, go for it, Katie.
Guys, I see that we're getting some echo. We are in the same room, so we're trying to be mindful of muting when the other person's talking. But if y'all get any more sound problems, please let us know. We're checking the questions regularly, so thank you so much for that feedback. All right, Matthew, back to you.
Sure. And did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Katie?
No, I think you covered it really well. I think that these are right on point and what we're asking from our managers. And, something that I guess I do want to add something is that, managers kind of make or break it for millennials. We stay with a job or we feel comfortable in a job and with a company, depending on how we really connect with our managers. So these are really important points and to keep in mind, especially when you are hiring millennials and deciding who they're going to report to.
Excellent. All right, let's move right along then. Next up, we have from their company. And this is one of those things that sometimes it's not always addressed, I feel like. Usually, the manager is the person that they're in direct contact with, but it's the company too. It's the preparation for the future. And I think what definitely ties in here is that company culture, because I'm sure there are hundreds and hundreds of companies out there that have mentoring as an option. It's something that's available. It might be part of your onboarding. It might be part of your career development or leadership, and it may even be part of your offboarding. But the mentality is the company culture encourages mentoring. You have all your stakeholders involved with it. It's not just the mentor mentee and maybe their manager, but the expectation is this is part of who we are. It's development and encouraging people to learn from others. Purpose in their work. I know Katie and I have had an excellent conversation about this, because the old mentality for a lot of people in the past have been, I go to work from 9 to 5, and then when I leave, I'm turning off my email, my day is done, I'm over it. And I really think that culture shift has changed with millennials, because I know both Katie and I, we have no problem with checking our email afterwards, or even on the weekends or at night if I don't have anything going on, I'll always check in to see how things are going. And that's because I have purpose at my work. I feel involved. I want to do well. I want to be active. And that's not because I'm told to do those things. My company did not ever tell me to check my email after hours, but I'm interested. I'm excited. I want to do my job. So we don't want something that we just sign off and sign on. We want something that we want to be involved in. And again, you're going to see it again because it's very true, that career development. We want to make sure that the company doesn't just say, oh yeah, here's a class you can take. We want to know there are paths and there are things that I can learn. And I'm not just siloed into one direction. I can learn multiple other things.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on the purpose and work, because that's one I actually had an asterisk next to it for weeks when we were getting ready for this to continue to talk about it. I think that one's really, really important, because most people say, this is where work-life balance comes in. Most people say that we want a work-life balance, which in a way we do. But for me, purpose in the work we're doing replaces that work-life balance. I don't see work as a separate entity in my life. I don't just come to work to come to work because I have to. I want to enjoy my job. I get up every morning and I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the culture that I work in. I've left jobs because I did not feel like that purpose was there. I didn't see the point in me being there because I was not happy. Even though I was doing the same tasks, the overall culture and the overall sense of being involved and being really engaged that I needed was not there for me. So yeah, and obviously career development, we're going to harp on that this entire webinar. That's such a big one. We want to be developed. We want to move forward in our careers. So those are the two big ones that stand out for me.
Thank you, Katie. I was going to say, I really like your word harp. That's my word of the day now, even though it's not always used in the best of context, but harp, that's good. I like it. Okay, and there's one other big concept that we really want to talk about, and that's to learn. And again, here we go. What do millennials want? We want to learn. We want to definitely learn relevant skills. We want to learn how to do our jobs. That's pretty a given situation. We want to know when I'm coming in, don't just plop me down and say good luck, which hopefully that's not a typical fashion, but we want to learn relevant skills to our job. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to learn the exact skills for my job, but anything in regard to it that could be soft skills or hard skills. So communication, presentation, things like that, along with data management and how to use particular applications. Autonomy is a huge thing too, because in the olden days, and I'm already laughing because I'm thinking of something we're about to bring up, but in the olden days of 2000, really when it came to learning, it was kind of like, this is part of your training. You will take this course, you will learn. Oh, you have confusion on this, take this course, you will learn. And that's not really what millennials want. I mean, there happens all the time that you're sitting down and something will come up and you're like, I want to learn more about that. You hop right on your phone. Hopefully it doesn't happen at like a movie theater because those people drive me crazy. But if you're watching TV or you're learning something at work, you're going to hop on Google because you want to learn, because you want learning at your fingertips and you want to be able to do it when you need to do it. Functional knowledge, I've already talked a little bit about that, but they just want to make sure that they're comfortable with what they're trying to achieve, and strategy. And this is where the career development path kind of comes in too. And something else I'm trying to think of, it's not Skillshare, soft. There's a lot of services out there, And they have tons of courses out there that you can learn anything. I will go in there and I mark 70 courses I want to take. But that's not me being strategic. That's just me saying, this sounds great for today. They want to have a strategy in place that says, you know what, if you want to learn more about this, here's kind of the course you should go. Focus on these skills, and these skills. They want support in creating a strategy that's going to help them learn.
No, I think you made some really great points there. I'm still getting some comments that y'all are getting feedback and echoing when I'm talking. So Matthew, I'm going to let you take over this next slide. I think you can cover this one. You got it?
I think I got it.
All right, I'm going to run and go grab another headset, but I will be right back, y'all. Matthew can take care of this next one.
Okay, everyone, the next step on this, while Katie is fixing her audio situation, millennials are asking for mentoring. So everything that we've been talking about, career development, strategy, it all has to go in with the mentoring plan. And I'm glad I'm bringing this up now because I'm sure some of you are like, we are almost halfway through and he's just now saying the word mentoring. Yes, but it's important to understand that it's not just that millennials want mentoring. There's a whole slew of reasoning of why they want mentoring. It's because they want that career development. They want strategy. They want the opportunity to learn. They want all those things that they can all be achieved through mentoring, through a mentor that can support them. And we're going to talk a little bit about the variations of how you can do mentoring, but all of this directly ties into the big idea of mentoring, of the cloud. You can even see on the screen, it's a silly graphic, but everything we've talked about is kind of covered right there in that. Katie, are you with us?
All right, I am back. Can y'all give me some feedback on if you can hear me and if there's still an echo, just real quick?
Excellent.
All right, much better. Thank you. Okay, I switched headsets. We'll see if this one keeps working. All right, Matthew, I missed what you said, but I'm sure it was wonderful.
Of course.
All right, so let's see. Moving on. All right, so we are going to talk about why making this change is so important. And the change that we're talking about is changing your mentoring strategy to really cater to your millennials. Now, please keep in mind, we're not asking you to exclude anyone else from your programs. This doesn't have to be a program just for millennials. But as we talk a little more and as we continue to go over this, you're going to see that we mean to just change a couple things here and there and get it going. So, a couple things that we want to talk about when we're talking about why making this change is so important is that, we've been in this workforce a lot longer than people think. And, in 2017, 56 million millennials were looking for a job. I mean, that's a lot of people entering the workforce. And it's estimated that by 2025, 75% of the workforce will actually be part of the millennial generation. That's 3/4. That's a lot of people. So making this change is extremely important because we're coming and we're coming fast if we're not already in your organization.
In case this for statistics, there's a couple of other ones that I really wanted to mention. That 76% of millennials think that professional development opportunities are one of the most important elements to company culture. And even more statistics, because who doesn't love statistics? 57% of workers ranked opportunities to learn and grow as one of the most important aspects of workplace culture. So you're hearing all of these statistics that we're talking about. This isn't just a small percent. It's always more than half of the people are really thinking this change is important, and the opportunity for mentoring is extremely important. So I forgot to mention this in the last slide. I didn't want the stats to be missed.
Thank you. I love stats. All right, so moving on, we want to show you a couple of different examples of millennials. And yes, there are two types of millennials. So the first set, did it come up? Oh, yep, sorry. My chat box was in the way. Okay, so the first set, this is what people think of when they see millennials. They think of a college graduate. They think of someone, in their early 20s, someone just coming in. But in reality, these are also millennials. And, Matthew and I, we're not going to show our age too much, but we are the people on your left. We both own homes. We have families. I have 2 children. We've been in the workforce for about a decade. I'm getting close to a decade. I know Matthew's been around right at a decade. So we're in your organizations. We're becoming the managers. We're leading our own departments. And we're really already here making the change for your organization. So, this is a huge generation. And as things are continuing to progress quickly in technology, the differences are becoming more defined, and you really have to start making changes, and you have to make them for both sets of millennials.
And definitely just talking about the younger millennials, if we really are breaking down the generations, the millennial generation is ending in 95. Now it's 2018. It's been a little while since I taught math, but that's about 23 years old. So literally the entire millennial generation, we're out there in the workforce. We have graduated college and we're out there. So it's no longer like the up and coming millennials are taking over. No, we're already here. We've been here for quite some time. So definitely be aware of this.
All right, great. So moving on, we're going to start by talking about the elder millennials. And the reason that we're using the elder millennials is because Matthew actually brought this up. He watched a Netflix series or something on YouTube, and it was a comedian talking about elder millennials and the difference between them. So Matthew's going to tell you a little bit about that just so that you can go catch it.
So it's really weird to bring up something random I saw on Netflix, but it's Eliza Schlesinger, and if you've never heard of her, she's a little raunchy, but she's very entertaining. But one of the things that she talked about was elder millennials, and it's kind of a joke because she's 35, and as soon as she told everyone that she was a millennial, the room kind of fell silent, and she's like, I'm a millennial, because she does fall into that bracket, but she's definitely that elder. And we were actually debating between older and elder, but elder just sounds a little bit better. But one of my favorite things, I'm sorry, this is off topic, is she has a quote where she's like, everyone gather around the Snapchat. Let me tell you the tale of the landline. Because it is that mentality that Katie and I had mentioned. You know, we grew up with the whole concept of the internet was kind of the new thing. Nobody really knew what it was. But then as soon as it came out there, we were at a young enough age that we just automatically absorbed it into us. So definitely the elder millennials are out there.
And it's funny you bring up landline. I totally had a landline growing up. We had a landline. So if someone called me too late, my parents would pick up and embarrass me and tell me that I had to get off the phone. But it's great because my kids will never see a landline. We don't have one in our home now. And my 11-year-old cousin just got a cell phone, which blows my mind. But that's the world we're growing up in now. So yes, we are elder millennials, and we are the future leaders. We are the people who are going to come in and take over these leadership positions and fill your succession pipeline. And that's so important for organizations to realize because that thing needs to be filled up. And you've got, 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, and the Gen X generation just isn't big enough to take over all these positions. So millennials are coming up, and we're coming up a lot faster than you think. We need our leaders to pass the baton to us, to invest in training, to adequately prepare us for the future and to prepare the company for the next generation of the leaders. Now more than ever, we need to prioritize leadership development, and that is something that can be done through mentoring. It's an excellent resource because while those baby boomers are still there, while those leaders are still there, they need to groom us to take over. All right, so younger millennials, while we are not younger millennials, we still know a little bit about them.
I do have a Snapchat, so I count for that.
I don't have a Snapchat, but I can think it's because I'm a mom. So these younger millennials are the ones that are entering the workforce. Matthew did say that these people have graduated, but they might not have found a job yet, or they're still working their way into it. So they need your strong mentors. They need someone who's going to give them a smooth transition into the company. We also need someone to reshape their expectations. That is so important. Like I said in the beginning, we have very high expectations for ourselves and very high expectations for our company. So we need someone who is going to tell us, like, yes, you're right on point with this. No, you might want to tweak your ideas on this one a little bit, just because we also get disappointed really quickly. We want to do well, and when we aren't doing well, it can hinder our performance. So having that person there to really take the reins for us and help us get into the office, get into the culture, and know what's going on right away is a huge thing for the younger millennials. Okay, so next, and we're going to jump right out of that really quick and jump into the do's and don'ts. Millennials tend to prefer modern mentoring programs over traditional mentoring programs. Now, we did do a webinar on modern mentoring last November, 5 types of modern mentoring to benefit your organization. I am going to add that link into the chat box for anyone who wants to go back and watch it. It's on demand on the Insolo website. We got a lot of great feedback from that one. And this is going to touch a little bit on that because the do's and don'ts really relate back to those types of modern mentoring. And if you've got some confusion there between modern mentoring and traditional mentoring, it can cause some problems for administrators, the mentors, and the mentees. All right, so let's see. Traditional mentoring. Okay, so we're going to touch a little bit on traditional mentoring just so everyone is clear on what it is. Traditional mentoring, one-to-one mentoring, face-to-face mentoring. This is a long-term, usually about a year, and typically a senior member of the company is going to be the mentor and a junior member of the company is going to be a mentee. And the big focus here is always career advancement. We want that promotion. We want you to move forward in their career. And obviously there's knowledge sharing, but that's what it's going to lead to. So modern mentoring is a little bit different, and we'll kind of get to that in just a second.
The main reason we wanted to establish traditional mentoring is, as the words of our wonderful consultant that is not present today, is mentoring has been around for 1,000 years. Everyone knows what it is, but the other problem with mentoring is that it's been around 1,000 years. So the traditional mentoring, we all have a good familiarity of what this is, but we really wanted to establish the base so that when we start talking about other variations of mentoring, there's more understanding. And going off of that, why do you think millennials prefer modern mentoring over traditional mentoring? So we established traditional mentoring. It's that one-on-one, it's that face-to-face. It's what we've all seen at some point in our life, the traditional route. We're going to talk more about modern, so you don't have to necessarily know exactly all the different versions of modern mentoring, but why do you think that millennials are trying to get away more from that traditional model? What are the issues with it, or the concerns, or the things that they want to try otherwise? And this isn't a poll, this is actually chat. So feel free to fill up that chat box and let us know what you prefer. So Katie, why do you think millennials prefer modern over traditional?
I think it just really works better for the way that we were raised. We were raised on technology. We were raised to collaborate. Like I said before, we are the collaboration generation. So having the modern mentoring really gives us the options to do more with our mentoring program than just sit down face to face and have a one-on-one conversation with someone. Honestly, for some of us, that's scary, especially if we're a little more introvert. I know, Matthew, you love to talk about this, so I'm going to pass it to you on this one. But the telephone scares people, at least millennials. So having that can be a little intimidating for us.
And I really hope there's someone out there today that they hate the phone as much as I do, because otherwise it scares me. But yes, I mean, it's the concept of some of the ways that have been done about using the phone, because it's kind of tying you down. It's the concept of the landline. It's probably why I'm not a big fan of it, because you're tied down. And there's so many times that I'm doing a million things and I want to be able to just communicate when I want to communicate, how I want to communicate there. And I've already seen some people, I know Katie's looking through it now, but something that caught my eye already in the chat box is for change. And changing to change is always a good idea, but the next part that same person said, so gold star to you, is we're happy to use technology. Traditional mentoring, the reason why it's been the same way it has been forever is because people can always meet face to face and talk. That's been the option. That's what you had to do. I mean, I'm sure once the phones came around, that's quite a while ago, but once that came around, there was already like, oh, this is another way we can do it. But in this day and age with technology, there are so many ways that we can communicate through mentoring portals, through just traditional, Snapchat. You got the Snapchat mentoring. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but I'm sure someone's going to try it. It might work out.
I swear I love Snapchat so much.
It's just so weird to get the message.
Yes. So I love a couple of these a lot. We're not going to have time to go through all of them, but thank you. These are great. So differences in lifestyle, that's a big one. Being more flexible, I've seen that a couple of times. That's big too. So fast tracking in the career, they want to be able to have the time that they want using technology. I mean, Matthew's touched on a couple of these, but really these are all right on key. And I think that y'all really understand what's going on with that. This is a good one. I want to read this one. So as a manager and a baby boomer, I have found that traditional mentoring is more labor intensive and less collaborative. And notice that the mentee can't engage their social media devices because they are required to give their undivided attention to the mentor. I believe that this causes them great anxiety. I love that. And thank you for your feedback. I think it's great to hear from someone that's not a millennial, because Matthew and I are the ones talking right now. And I agree with you. I think that it does give us anxiety when we have to do something that's uncomfortable for us. And sitting down and talking face to face with someone is uncomfortable. We do live in the social media world. We do live in the world of texting. I know for most people, I don't call at all. They're just people that I text. And so, yes, you're right. Having to give our undivided attention to a mentor sometimes does cause great anxiety. I wouldn't blame it all on social media. But as a digital marketer, that's part of my job. So I can't totally dismiss that. But you're right. It gives us anxiety, and anything that gives us anxiety is something we're going to, shun away from. I would also like to note that the person that commented that was my mother. Thank you, Mom.
Oh, hi. I'm the person she talks about at work. So it's a pleasure. But no, it's wonderful. Oh, I feel so special right now. Okay, but yes, and I think those are all great things. And now we kind of want to really go in. I wish we had more time, because I'm looking through the chat and I'm seeing even more I want to talk about. But let's start talking about these modern, because if you attended that webinar that Katie's going to make available to everyone, this really went more in depth on each one of these. And the first do and don't here is communication getting virtual. So don't expect us to take that traditional route to please our mentor. Do give us options, because again, the expectation out there is that, you're face to face, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and usually the mentor is dictating all of it, and the mentee just kind of feels like, I'm just doing what I'm told. And for any of us that understand how mentoring relationships work, it's a partnership, it's a commitment to each other. It's not a coaching situation where a mentor is saying, do this, do this, do this. We're learning from each other. It's a relationship, not just being told what to do. So giving us the options, texting, using virtual portals, email, Skype, link. Just this morning I was having some tech issues, and we had 10 different ways that we can communicate with each other because one facet didn't work. So there's always going to be a lot of options out there for virtual mentoring. The next one up is group mentoring. So the resources is give more. Don't limit our access to one source of knowledge and experience. Do give us a chance to work with multiple mentors or mentees. And we even put the mentors and mentees in that situation because that's peer mentoring. You're going to learn from other people in your situation. And this is one that I know Katie said that she's had some experience with, but it's something that I've always been interested in, because one mentor to take on 1, 2, 3 mentees, that can be a lot. So having kind of that group community means that I can go in, someone's going to be able to support me, and what I'm learning, others can learn from that. So it's not just one mind, it's always greater to put all the brains together and come up with great ideas. So having an opportunity to learn from others and not just one person is great. Katie, do you have anything to add on virtual or group mentoring?
No, I think that you really hit the nail on the head with those. And we are going to talk a little bit more about these in our third webinar for this series. So I don't want to dig too much into it. But yeah, no, I think the do's and the don'ts right there just really cover a wide range. And those are just some great examples of how they pertain to modern mentoring.
Great. And there's 2 more we'll talk about briefly, is expectations in setting some. So don't underestimate our skills. Give us the opportunity to share our knowledge. Obviously, for a lot of these millennials, right now we have some that are fresh coming out of college. Those group of people, they do have skills. Trust me, they went to college, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they've started working immediately out of high school, and they have a set of skills that may not be applicable to something that people have learned in the past, but there is a skill set there. It's just going to be different than what people in more senior roles have. So give us an opportunity to share that knowledge. And that's really where reverse mentoring comes in. And I know that's become more and more popular. And the reason is because, again, millennials are what we consider to be digital natives. At some point in our younger age, we were exposed to technology and we absorbed it immediately. While other generations may have to take more time to learn it, it was just day to day. Here's your phone, here's your Snapchat. Sorry, if I don't say it at least 3 times, Snapchat disappears, I don't know. But yes, reverse mentoring is a great way to get that knowledge across boundaries. And the more and more portals I've been implementing here at Insala, the more and more times I hear about programs being reverse mentoring. And one last one we'll talk about is the time constraints. Keep it quick. So don't focus on long-term mentoring and do give us the opportunity for instant gratification. I think out of all of ours, this is probably the one that's the most debatable depending on your need and your focus. But one of the big things I think here is when I was doing traditional mentoring straight out of college, I was assigned a mentor and they said, this is your mentor for the year. Have at it. And then it was up to the mentor to help me out for a year with no real guidance. But this is when I was first starting to teach. When I was first starting to teach, the first couple of weeks, I had to have questions about, well, how do I get students into my classroom? What do I do? How do I get classroom management under control? What kind of lessons should I do? That's what I needed in the beginning. And then midway through the year, okay, now I definitely need more help in classroom management so kids don't stand on desk. So I needed to have a different mentor or different information at that time. And then towards the end of the year, it's okay, now I'm preparing for standardized testing and I'm preparing for a whole different situation. Now I need different support again. So one mentor may be really strong at one idea, but throughout the year, I had different focuses and needs. And that's where speed and flash mentoring come in, because it can either be short bursts, 3 months, 6 months, or it can have to be opportunity that I'm going to connect with one person that's a subject matter expert in what I need, and they can support me. And once I receive that support, I can move on to another mentor.
All right, because we're kind of running out on time and I want to make sure we have time for questions, we're going to move on to the next section. All right, so we are going to briefly touch on ROI because our entire next webinar covers return on investment for implementing a mentoring program for your millennials. So we're not going to go super in depth in this, but we will in the next webinar. So please make sure you jump in on that. So what's your ROI? First, why do you need an ROI? Obviously, anything you do within your company that's going to cost you money or time or resources or anything else, you need to have a return on your investment. And a big part of this is getting the buy-in from the executives in your company to even have a mentoring program for your millennials. So I'm just going to throw out one quick stat, and I think this one says a lot. 53% of hiring managers say that it's difficult to find and retain millennials. By having a mentoring program, that is going to drop that statistic so much for your organization because you're going to give them what they want, what they're asking for, which is something we just talked about. So I wanted to share a quote with you. And this quote, I'm not going to read it to you, but I think that this quote is really great because it kind of covers the whole concept of career development, and it covers the whole concept of finding talent, identifying talent. And this doesn't speak directly towards millennials, but it just gives an overall perspective. You know, find the people that are right for your organization for certain areas and then help them grow. Help them become valuable. That's going to give you more incentive to work with other types of individuals, even the ones who maybe need a little more help. So you've got your high potentials and you've got the people that might need to work on a few things. It's really about finding it in total, which is why at the beginning I said, do not exclude anyone from these programs. Don't make this just about millennials. Just make sure that you have options for your millennials. So the do's and don'ts, that's where they come in. Make sure that the type of program you're giving people is going to work for them.
And one thing I do want to mention, Katie, you had just brought it up, was talking about, retaining those millennials. Because a lot of times you'll hear people say, millennials hop jobs. And a lot of people think, oh, that's just a myth, or some people believe it. And I'm here to tell you, it's 100% true. Millennials do hop jobs. And why do they hop jobs? Because they want to find a job that is an investment for them. They feel successful at it. And there's the opportunity out there to learn through networking. I know my previous jobs, I didn't even go down a traditional route. I didn't use Indeed or LinkedIn or anything like that. It all came from friends saying, I have this company that I'm working for. It's amazing. They have great benefits. They have great learning. You should come. And that's how I receive most of my jobs. Is I'm not hopping to hop because I'm bored. I'm hopping because I'm learning there's something great out there that I can be a part of that's going to support me and give me what I want in the career world.
All right, so we only have a couple more slides before we get to our question and answer portion, and because we are running a little short in time, we're both a little long-winded if you haven't noticed. Go ahead and start getting your questions so that we can pick a couple of those out and answer them. And if we don't get to your questions today, don't worry, we're gonna email you out the answers to them, or you can always contact us. But moving right along, so the next slide we have is just really quick, and honestly, this is what we're gonna be talking about in our next webinar. So mentoring your millennials helps to attract talent. You want to win that war on talent. It is a very real thing. And like Matthew just said, sometimes we hop jobs, and it's because we're getting attracted to these other companies and what they can provide us and what we feel we can bring to them. So attracting talent's a big thing. Increasing your retention rates. Sometimes millennials don't stick around as long as maybe people that are older would. We see our parents, my mom's on the call, or on the webinar, I just said that. My mom's been at the same job for, what is it now, Mom, 15 years? Maybe a little longer. And, she enjoys what she's doing, but that's not something I've ever done. I haven't been with the same company for 9 years. So increasing those retention rates is really going to help you because hiring new employees costs a lot of money. And lastly, boosting engagement. Engagement is huge. You want your employees to be engaged. You want them to feel like they're part of your culture. You want them to be productive, and we're not going to do that if we're not engaged and we don't feel like we have purpose in our work and we have purpose in your organization. So I know that was really quick. We didn't really cover a lot on ROI, but like I said, our next webinar is all about ROI. These are our agenda notes right there. All right, so speaking of our next webinars, we have 2 more webinars in this series. It's all going to be about millennials. So part 2 is boosting your bottom line. We're going to talk about ROI. So please, if you could go join that, that would be great. I'm going to share those links in the chat box as soon as we get over to the question slide. Part 3 is going to be developing your programs. We're going to give you tips to success. We are going to talk more about our modern mentoring strategies and really go into depth in those. We're also going to have Judy Corner, who usually is with us on these webinars. She's going to be back. She's our mentoring consultant, and she's going to help you learn how to develop a program just for your millennials, to really cater to them. So please, we would love to have you there. If you would join us for those other 2, we really think that you'd find some value in it. And I'm going to share those links right now as Matthew moves on to questions.
Yeah. I'm on mute. I love technology. It's great. So the first question, now that I'm moving on to questions, is how do you recruit millennials to be mentors? And I can definitely speak on that because when I'm consulting with clients as we're implementing their mentoring portals, recruiting mentors is the most arduous, that's my new word of the day, arduous task. And it's not just millennials, it's just people in general to get them to be mentors, because people always are kind of like, oh, mentee is great. And if everybody wants to learn, I want to be a part of it. But recruiting millennials to be mentors, I can definitely see where that is. And I would say the number one thing, which is not just for millennials, is explain to them the benefits of it. Explain to them that this isn't just a one-way street. A lot of millennials and a lot of people think that the only kind of mentoring out there is traditional mentoring, and that's not what we're doing anymore. So letting them know there's going to be flexibility and they're going to learn from it too, and they get to impart their knowledge, and it's going to be part of their overall experience with the company, especially if it's the company culture. So just really selling them on that, this isn't a one-way street. You're going to be supporting other people. And especially if you're doing reverse mentoring, that one would be huge, because then you can explain to them, you're actually going to be able to network with these other people that have been around in this company for much longer, and you get to learn from them as they learn from you. Katie, do you want to add anything to that?
I mean, no, I think you did a great job of covering that and how you recruit mentors. And I think offering them the different types of mentoring and going back to those do's and don'ts, like you said, is really important because if they feel like they're going to get something out of it, if they feel like they're going to be able to give something, because we're not just about getting, we don't want to just take. We want to give something to the organization. We want to be able to give something to our mentors, or if it's reverse mentoring, give something as a mentor. We're really gonna feel like we can be a part of this and make a difference. So how do you recruit them? Obviously, social media would be a huge thing. I know some of our clients have social media pages for their programs, whether it's a mentoring program or alumni program or a coaching program, and they've seen a lot of success with that. Getting the word out there, email marketing. I'm in marketing. I'm always going to go back to marketing. Email marketing, that's a big thing. That's something that a lot of our clients do and see some success as well. So getting those numbers up and having the participants is going to make or break your program. So be sure that marketing your program is something that is a big part of your overall plan. And just to plug this really quick, in January during mentoring month, we are going to focus on marketing your mentoring program. That's a mouthful. Marketing your mentoring program will be our focus in January. We'll have an ebook and a webinar on that. So we're going to cover that in detail, and we're also going to pull the millennials back into that one as well. I do see another question. Someone wants to know where we get our research from. So our research comes from a lot of different places. It's our own personal experience. We spoke with some subject matter experts. Wow, I can't talk right now. Subject matter experts in our company that have been doing mentoring for 20 some odd years, some of them 30 some odd years. We also went to a lot of different websites that had a lot of these stats, and they were able to really touch on the topics that we wanted to. If you would like, Phil Allen is the person that asked that question. Phil, if you would like, just comment back and I can send you some of the links that we pulled this information from if you think that would be helpful.
And also, Phil, I know Katie's been working on the ebook, and eventually a lot of these statistics and information will be provided in there as well. So that'll be more of a compact design version of it as well.
Matthew, thank you for plugging the ebook. Something else. We're doing an ebook at the end of this webinar series. It will come out kind of the middle of November after we finish the third part, and it's going to have a lot of this information in there, and we will have the sources from our research in that as well.
Perfect. And I was going to say that I'm very funny that how do you recruit millennials? We both went in very different directions on that, which is good. It's a good variation. The next question, we've already talked about the resources, so we'll be getting those out to everybody. What are your tips for successful reverse mentoring schemes? That's really good. And Katie, didn't you wanted to speak more on that?
Oh, reverse mentoring. So we actually have a lot more information in the Modern Mentoring webinar that we did about that. So if you want to go check that out, I did share the link in the chat box. We're also going to be discussing that in more detail in our third webinar, but just right off the top of my head, a couple of things that you really want to remember when you're trying to have a successful reverse mentoring program is that the comfort level of both parties, because everyone is getting out of their comfort zone in this. You've got mentors that are used to being mentees. You've got mentees that are used to being mentors. You've got someone that might be a senior member of your workforce learning from someone who could be 20, 30 years younger than them. I've been in a reverse mentoring relationship, and it was very difficult in the beginning. I was uncomfortable speaking to someone that was so senior to me. I had to, find my own voice, and he was really helpful in making that happen. And he was kind of uncomfortable in listening to what I had to say. I don't think that he thought I had enough credibility in the beginning. So establishing that trust and having honest feedback and honest conversation was a huge thing for us. Once we sat down and explained our discomforts, and really were able to vibe together and build a connection, we were able to see that we're both going to benefit from this. Reverse mentoring is absolutely mutually beneficial. We're as millennials and as the younger generation learning how to speak to, leadership in our company. And then, the leadership is kind of learning that we know things too. We have knowledge, and that we shouldn't be discounted in any way.
I would also just like to add to that, because L&D trainer here, a lot of it has to do with training too, because it's a common misconception that it's like, we're starting a program. You're a mentor, you're a mentee, go for it. There should always be some level of training, either face-to-face, have a webinar, at least provide documentation. But it's really the big idea of sitting down in a room with everybody and saying, we're doing reverse mentoring. Here are the expectations for the mentors. Here are the expectations of mentees. Everybody feels much more at ease when they know what is expected of them, and they are more comfortable, and it's going to ease that situation. So making sure that you provide some form of training, especially in that one, because that one's the most unique out of all the other groups of mentoring.
All right, I think we've covered all the questions. Oh, wait, let me see if we have time for one more. Their journey. Okay, so what are some good ways that HR can support both the mentor and mentee in their journey? We're going to touch on this one really, really fast because we're almost out of time. Matthew kind of just said it. Training. Training is a huge thing for mentors and mentees in any program, but especially millennials. So you want to give them expectations. You want to go through, not only the objectives of the organization, but also what their personal goals and objectives should be, and that they need to share those with each other. That's a huge thing that's going to make a really big difference in having a successful relationship. Kind of like I said with reverse mentoring, it's understanding and it's having a commitment to the program. So find ways to make them accountable. Send out surveys, throughout the mentoring relationship. How's it going? What's your feedback? Do you think this is working for you? What can we do to help make this program better? That's going to keep them accountable and remind them, hey, this is something I should be actively doing. So yes, you said it in there, regular check-ins, surveying, those are big things. Articles and pointers, absolutely. Share all the information that you can get with them. If you need some resources, and Sala has a ton of articles on mentoring. We've got some on monitoring and on Mentoring Millennials that I think would be really helpful. Support is a huge thing for any mentoring relationship, but especially with these younger millennials, they need everything you can get. And as we've said multiple times, we love feedback. So give us feedback.
And to tie on right at the end, part of that was support vary depending upon pairing, 100%. If you're not sure what they need to support their mentoring relationship, ask. Just ask them, how can we make this better for you? You might be surprised if people know exactly what they want, and that's how you can help them the best.
All right, we are out of time. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us today. This was a lot of fun for me. I know it was for Matthew as well. I hope that you got a lot of information out of this. I think we got just as much as we gave from y'all. So thank you for your participation. We really hope that we see everyone in the next 2 webinars that we have. The next one is going to be in October, and the following will be in November. And then, like I said, the ebook comes out in November as well. If we didn't get to your questions, please email us, or I put our links to our LinkedIn pages in the chat box. Please connect with us on LinkedIn and send us a message. We love sharing this information. We'd be more happy to continue that conversation with you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Stop the